What'd you think of the gospel text? I wonder when I read it if you're like I am. I hate conflict. I hate it. The motto of my life could well be Rodney King's, "Can't we all just get along?" Growing up in an often contentious household, I developed high-def radar to detect from far away the storm clouds of conflict rising. I could look at my father's face, a certain set of his jaw, a hardening in my father's eyes, the raising of the timbre of his voice until it reached soreness. And the alarm would go off somewhere in here and somewhere up here, the alarm that said, "Quick, run for your lives!" I hate conflict. I learned to loathe it. Even today, if I come upon a scuffle, my go-to strategy is to make the combatants come out into the ring, shake hands, and say they're sorry. Come on now, come on out, come into the ring, say you're sorry. Doesn't really matter if they mean it. It's to make the conflict go away. I don't want to deal with it. I hate it. I wonder if you're like that. Not everybody is, you know. Some people like a good scrap. In fact, some people thrive on conflict. I wonder if you're like that. That means when all us conflict avoiders are running away from a fracas, you'll be heading in with swords loud clashing and the beat of stirring drums. Forward into battle, see your banner go. If you're like that, you probably love today's gospel reading, in which Jesus seems to be doing his best impersonation of John Boy and Billy's Mad Max. That makes me mad. You heard Wiley read it. Doesn't Jesus sound like Rambo with a flamethrower? I have come to bring fire to the earth, and oh, I wish it were already blazing. And all the fighters amongst us say, yes, it's about time we opened up a can of whoop, you know what? And I'm saying, okay, everybody, let's turn to, I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. And then we'll sing, blessed be the tie that binds. And Jesus says, you think I've come to bring peace to the earth? I've come to bring division. Matthew says, I've come to bring a sword. Matthew puts the weapon in Jesus' hand so we can see it. From now on, if there are 5 people in a household, it's going to be 3 against 2, and 2 against 3, and father against son, and son against father, and mother against daughter, and daughter against mother, and mother-in-law against daughter-in-law, and daughter-in-law against mother-in-law. We all agreed in the Bible study, he needn't have added that one. We already knew that conflict was going to be there. From now on, Jesus says, the motto is going to be, me against you and you against me. So much for Rodney King. What do you think's going on here? Do you have an idea? Did we just catch Jesus on a bad day here? Did somebody do something that PO'd Jesus? After all, let's be honest. This looks nothing at all like the nice, sweet, kind, neat face that we've been taught to see whenever we say the name Jesus. What do you think's going on? Well, I'm not sure, but here's one thing that's really, really important to remember. Jesus was on his way to die, and he knew he was on his way to die. So when he says, I have a baptism with which I must be baptized, and I am stressed, until it happens. He's not talking about standing up in front of the church and having a little water sprinkled on him. He means the baptism of death, the baptism of the folks who were angry at him, raising him up on the cross to die a death for the whole world. So in these days before Jesus dies, every encounter, every teaching, every parable, every moment, he sensed the kingdom of God breaking into a world that was really kind of like that student that came to William Willimon, quite happy with the way things were. No, I don't really want to change. You know, the status quo is great, isn't it? Particularly when you're on the good end of the status quo and you're benefiting from how the world's arranged. If you've taken time to read the Gospels, though, you cannot deny this, that Jesus was the great disturber of the status quo. We shouldn't have been surprised, even while there was not even a flutter in his mother's womb. She said it. Why, the poor will be raised up, and the rich will be sent empty away. You could smell that conflict coming, can't you? Jesus knew that when his kingdom began breaking into the kingdom of this world, some people were not going to be happy. And there was going to be trouble that would even split families in two. That same William Willimon, who is a great preacher, looked out on a congregation of students that included a young woman who decided after one of Willimon's sermons on the text, if you would come after me, you must deny yourself and take up your cross and follow me. For whoever saves their life will lose it, and whoever loses their life for my sake will find it. She decided that her life calling was to work at a non-profit on behalf of the poor, where her earning potential was virtually nil. When she went home to tell her father, he was not thrilled. In fact, he was livid. He came to William Willimon, demanded to know what cockamamie things he was feeding to his daughter, who was very bright and had been sent to Duke at great expense, he added, to get a quality education and pursue a successful career. What are you putting into her mind? He said. Willimon shrugged his shoulders. Maybe the gospel. Father against daughter, daughter against father. You know, when the great disturber breaks in, things change. Oh, it might not be so dramatic as a call to a non-profit poverty. It may be as simple as a choice, whether on Sunday morning you're going with your child to her soccer game, or you're all coming to church. The soccer world has figured out, you know, that in this busy world, Sunday mornings from 9 to noon is the best time for soccer. Conflict. Once a woman came to me and asked me what I thought about her child missing church for soccer. I told her it was choosing against the church, and it was choosing against God's kingdom. And she was mad. She asked me, mind you. I told her what I thought. She said, surely God wouldn't be against a family cheering at a soccer game on Sunday, would he? This is family. What could be more important than family? What would you say? What did Jesus say? Here's what C.S. Lewis says. Imagine yourself living in a house. God comes to rebuild your house. At first, perhaps you can understand what he's doing. He's getting the drains right. He's fixing the leaky roof. You know those things needed to be done, so they're not surprised. But then he starts knocking around your house in a way that hurts and doesn't seem to make any sense. What on earth is he up to? The explanation is he's building a very different house than the one you thought of. He's putting a new wing there, throwing up an addition there, running up towers, making courtyards. You thought you were being made into a decent little cottage. But Jesus is building a palace, and he intends to come and live in it himself. Jesus does not want to baptize our choices against his kingdom by saying, that's okay. Come when you can and when your schedule allows. Jesus doesn't want to move into the house of your heart to slap on a few coats of paint and change the draperies. No, he's going to gut your life down to the studs and build a new place. Peaceful, not in the least. Jesus wants fire to be kindled in your life and in the world because he knows better than anyone else that all of us need the fire that the kingdom of God represents. It's true in your life. It's also true in the world. Think about the abolition of slavery as an example. To us now, it's very clear that slavery is wrong. I hope so. I hope everyone believes that. It had existed for decades, for centuries, for millennia. But we believe it was antithetical to God's kingdom, to the divine dignity of every human being. But there was a time before the fire came when that was not clear. So we fought a bloody war to determine whether we would maintain the status quo or whether change would come. And indeed, brother was against brother, and the house was divided. Do you know our own denomination split in two at the Civil War? And it took over 100 years to bring it back together. Now, surely Jesus did not want that war and death and destruction and division and mayhem, but just as clearly, he was chomping at the bit for the change to come, as he always is, as he still is. Wherever justice is not done in this world, and wherever there is not righteousness. In a world like our world and in people like us, so thoroughly lost and screwed up, you better believe that that change is always going to be one of conflict. So to those of us who hate conflict and who run from it, Jesus says, listen, there are some things worth fighting for. You, for example. What would Jesus raise the sword over in your own life? What in this world would Jesus burn away with his cleansing fire? It's important to think about. We're going to sing Julia Ward Howe's Battle Hymn of the Republic now. It's an appropriate hymn. But we won't sing one of the stanzas she wrote because it's been left out. But in light of today's text, I don't think it should be, so let me end with it. I have read his fiery gospel, writ in rows of burnished steel. As ye deal with my condemners, so with you my grace shall deal. So let the hero, born of woman, crush the serpent with his heel, since God is marching on. Against the serpent in you and the serpent in this world, Let the battle commence. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.